Hi, I'm Steve and I'm at Rolling Green Nursery and I'm here to talk about watering your plants correctly. A lot of you have been asking how to water your trees and shrubs and other perennials. And the best method is the trickle method. So I'm just going to lay this hose down and just set it on a very light trickle and let it run for 20 minutes to a half an hour and let it get a deep soak. But you're only going to do this once weekly if it doesn't rain. When watering, never water the foliage such as I'm doing now. Leave that to Mother Nature and the rain. Whenever you're watering with a hose, I suggest watering underneath around the base of the entire shrub and water deeply once weekly using the trickle method. So some exceptions to that water deeply once weekly rule is site-specific issues, such as a hilltop or a valley. It all depends upon what you've planted and where you've planted it. And the soil conditions as well play a factor. So there's all kinds of exceptions to that rule. Say if you've planted a tree right at the top of the hill, it drains extremely well and it may need more water than water deeply once weekly. And you've got to check the soil. If you dig down with your finger 1 or 2 inches and feel that soil, is it still moist? If it is still moist, don't water. And also if you're on a slope, very good drainage. But it depends upon what you've planted there as well. So this may require more water than you think on the slope. But down in the lowland, it may be moist all the time. You may just have to water it when you plant it, and that's it. But you've got to check that soil, stick your finger in down there 1 or 2 inches, feel that soil. If it's still moist, don't water it. And some exceptions to that rule depend also on soil quality and the type of soil. At the top of a hill, it may be rocky and gravelly and not contain that much organic matter. And that would certainly cause you to be able to water much more frequently than once weekly if it hasn't rained out. So soil quality is very important. If it's a sandy soil or a rocky, gravelly soil, water will percolate through and drain off very quickly. If it's soil that is clay-based, it's gonna hold water and be like a bucket after you plant your tree and shrub, and clay soil does not drain very well. It's like the opposite of sandy soil. And the way to balance your soil, be it clay soil or sandy soil, is through compost or organic matter. By mixing organic matter such as compost in with your sandy soil or your clay-based soil, it balances it out and holds just the right amount of water for your trees and shrubs. The symptoms of overwatering and drying out are nearly the same when you look at the shrub. You'll see the new growth has drooped, and this one happens to be dried out, and the plant is trying to draw up moisture from the soil that just isn't there, and it causes the new growth to just droop like this. Okay, and ironically, if a shrub has been greatly overwatered, this same symptom will appear. The new foliage is going to droop, and there's a good reason for that. When soil is constantly waterlogged and the tree is stressed, what is happening is the new root tips are actually rotting or decaying due to way too much moisture in the soil. Okay, and that will cause those root tips to rot, and the shrub can't take up any moisture, and that's why you'll get that same drooping. A good plant to talk about difficulties in determining overwatering and underwatering is this ivory halo dogwood. They're particularly sensitive to splashing from underneath and moist soils from underneath, which will cause this leaf spotting disease to attack due to too much moisture in the soil. What happens is the moisture evaporates during the evening and morning hours and condenses on the bottom leaves, and that's when fungus attacks the lower leaves and causes your shrub to be quite unsightly for a while. Here's a wonderful shrub that there's not much worry about overwatering. It's a Clara, and it loves water, and if you plant this down in a low area, it would take up a lot of moisture and be quite happy in a moist situation versus a lot of other trees and shrubs. Some shrubs that just love to be in a dry, gravelly, sandy area is this Jacobson Mugo. Now this is just the opposite of the Clara we were just talking about. This one would love to be in a rocky, gravelly soil with very good drainage. Now some plants don't like to be in the heat of the day. They don't like to be in the hot sun during the afternoon in summertime, and they'll trick you. Like this wonderful bloom-struck macrophylla hydrangea. Even though the soil may be moist, it may trick you because it doesn't like the hot afternoon sun, and it will actually droop sometimes, even though it has adequate water.
And what do you do for that?
Absolutely nothing.
So just let it be droopy?
If it's a continuous problem, it's just not been planted in the right spot. The soil is completely wrong. It's drying out too quickly. The location is far too hot for this particular macrophylla. So it's great to keep in mind that they should really be planted where they're going to be happy. Japanese maples love moist, well-drained soil, but stress very rapidly in wet soils. So it's important that you be careful and do not overwater your Japanese maple. Otherwise it will show signs of stress. So be sure when you're watering your newly planted Japanese maple, check the soil, do the finger test, and dig down a couple of inches. If that soil is still moist, don't water it. Here's a good example of how to tell if the plant is healthy and has a healthy root system. You can see that these roots are a wonderful bright color, and there's no visible rot or browning on them. This is a broom or cytisus, and is very susceptible to root rot if overwatered. Thanks for watching, and I hope this video has been instructional and helped you with your watering. Come on down to Rolling Green Nursery.